Look at that guy. Look
First,
at that guy.
first big one of the season. It was a nice one to get.
Well, how big was that, Dan?
That was 30 and a half inches.
30 and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. I was caught in, I was about 6 feet of water. So I was down about 4 feet suspended, just cruising, actively hunting. So it didn't take long to persuade her to hit. And she gave me an excellent fight. That's for sure.
Well, that is a happy walleye Wednesday right there. 30-inch fish. Well, the smile says it all.
Yeah.
I'm not the least bit surprised. I'd be wetting myself with a 30-inch. I haven't caught a 30-inch in a long time. But wow, what a fish. Fantastic. What'd you catch it on, if you don't mind me asking?
That was a Northland tungsten jig, quarter ounce,
Yeah.
black and gold, just a good old fashioned minnow. I was playing with bait, but this time of year I like to kind of get the mood of the fish, and nothing cheats. Like, I know they're eating on minnows, so you can get their reaction time pretty quickly, and then I can turn off the plastics. Or I've actually been doing a lot of experimenting with the Berkeley Roller this year, and I'm already really impressed with that bait. Really impressed.
You've heard what's happening with tungsten. What, in your opinion, what's going to happen going forward for anglers? What are we just going to have to compromise and make do and adapt?
I think so. It sure feels that way, and it's, I don't see an off ramp, and it's kind of funny how that is. But that being said, as we're going to touch a lot probably tonight, it always comes down to money. That always dictates what we're going to do, right? So it's hard to say when you get down to it.
Absolutely. Well, I hate to put this fish away because I could stare at that all freaking day. But again, thanks so much for sharing that. And welcome to everybody who's watching. Rob, nice to have you along with us, buddy, all the way out in Saskatchewan.
Nice.
To join us tonight. Really appreciate that. We're really privileged, and we want to get right into it. We have a special guest, and of course, we spoke to his partner, Aidan, last time on the POW'er Hour. And this time around, we're going to speak to, as he would put it, the better half. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to bring in Aidan, and we have lots to discuss. So please welcome Aidan. How you doing, buddy? Can you hear us?
I don't think he can.
I can't hear you right now, Scottie. Give me a second.
Okay. We can hear you.
Welcome for your zoomed in moment at CFN POW'er Hour. Pretty sure there might be some Northland packages on the back wall over there too.
Absolutely. I will text you. Okay, he's done exactly what I was going to tell him to do. Click back in. That's exactly what I was going to do. He's a smart kid. Okay,
it's always fun when you go live, eh? We just had a perfect conversation with him, everything was fine, and I blame you button mashed something somewhere. It's got to be on your fault, though.
Can you hear us now, Aidan?
Yeah, there we are. That's better.
Boom shot. You did. I gotta give you a hand. You did exactly what I was about to text you to do. Just click out and come back in.
Refresh and call it a day. That's the way.
Well, welcome, Aidan. It's been a long time overdue that we've been wanting to do this. Wanted to bring you on the show. Let me introduce you, my partner in crime, Danny Bacon.
How's it going, buddy?
Nice to meet you, Danny. How's it going?
So, Aidan, I've noticed that you've been out fishing. I thankfully live vicariously through the one above me, and of course now you, because unfortunately CFN is a busy place with a whole bunch of things that are on the go and currently in construction. So again, I love seeing Ian out there fishing as well. We've done some great edits for him. We got to do some edits for you. But tell us, how has the season started for you so far?
It's been incredible. I had a slow start. Normally for the catch and release season in Zone 20 on the St. Lawrence, I'm out a ton shore fishing. Like, that's how I started fishing it. And normally, like, you can, as soon as that water gets to like 45, the ice is out of the back bays. Normally it's game on, but this year was a slow start. I went out shore fishing with my girlfriend for one day, and we caught 2 largemouth and a pulp fish. So it was a slow start. Then a couple weeks later, I got out on the boat with one of my buddies, Ryerson. And we kind of had some areas we figured these fish would be set up. The water was 44 degrees, and we came out in some offshore stuff coming into some spawning flats. And we found fish quick, and it was an incredible day. We probably had a 60 fish day. I think I went nearly 30 casts in a row with fish after fish. Just like out deep on the live scope with a minnow in her hands, and that's my favorite way to fish. I absolutely love it. Call me a live scoper. I love it. But it was an incredible day.
No fault in being a live scoper. As I said, we're not here to judge. At the end of the day, everybody has their opinions, and we will get to that, of course, because we want to see and hear what your opinion is on the state of tournament angling. But you are a multi-species angler, much like your partner, and as I said, you have a fantastic girlfriend. But if you haven't put a ring on that finger, you need to. She is.
The devil. She's walking into the room right now.
What I'm telling you, I became an instant fan when I met her at the Ottawa Boat and Outdoor Show. Big, there she is, yeah, girl. Yeah.
No, for the multi-species, and this comes into the story of how I met Yan. Honestly, we met lake trout fishing, ice fishing for them. But I think it's been 6 years I was trying to catch a lake trout through the ice, and this past winter I went out for one day, looked at some spots on maps, and I think we put 4 on the ice that day after spending 6 years not seeing a single fish. And then kind of I fell in love with it from there. I think I spent most of my time on this certain body of water, which I'm not sure if I'll say that just because it's already blown up the past year, but it's rare to get out there. But it was incredible. And then we went out last year for lake trout on the boat on Big Rito for opening weekend, and we had some fun, caught some fish. But me and Yan went out 2 weekends ago now, was lake trout opener on Zone 18, and we put a hammer down on them. We went out for 4 hours, like a late afternoon fish, and we put probably 15 Lakers on the boat, 2 30-inch fish, and then a bunch of decent fun fish to catch out in that deep water.
And it seems like lake trout has become your new favorite species of fish to target.
If it wasn't for the smallies, that's a close second. Like,
there you go.
Finding them in open water like that, like hooking them in deep water, like you're getting a fight. It's not like a fish in 8 feet of water where it's like it can be a wet sock to the boat, like some of the walleye, even though they're super fun out deep too. But like the lake trout, the way they move, the way you fish for them, is just, it fires me up.
The old corkscrew and burpers.
Exactly. Absolutely. Now, just in case we have some significant others and wives listening, you have been extremely supportive of Aidan in his pursuit of excellence when it comes to not only fishing in general, but tournament angling. What's your secret? How do you get past it? How are you accepting? Or do you just tag along to make sure you're a part of it?
Well, I mean, a little bit of both, I guess. But my dad, like all growing up, he was in tournament fishing, so I'm sort of used to it, right? Like I sort of found someone that's sounds weird, but like exactly like my dad. So I've always been a part of it, going to weigh-ins on the weekends and to spend time with my dad. Like it would have to be on the boat fishing, and like I've been fishing ever since. Like I've seen pictures, like ever since like he could get a fishing rod in my hand. So ice fishing wasn't something we really did much together, him and I. So when Aidan said, let's go, I said, okay, well, fair enough, let's go. And that's when I got my biggest fish like ever. So now I'm like hooked on that. And, if it brings him joy, it brings me joy. So.
Well, you could share with this, Danny, because of course you're out with Mary Lisa all the time. So you certainly can appreciate this kind of setup. And of course, it just helps. Like you are, you're not anxious when you're out in the water with Mary Lisa, because she's there with you. And you're sharing, as they say, valuable time together. So a lot could be said for fishing with your significant other. So that I think that's awesome to hear.
Unfortunately for significant others, though, they get to see us at our worst because they're the one person we can vent to. So they're the ones that seem to listen to all that. But me and Mary Lisa have a lot of tournament hours in. There's no doubt about that. So
that's awesome. I'd love to do a tournament with her one day. I think Big Bass Mega Bucks, which is opening weekend tournament of bass for Zone 18. She's fishing with her dad, and I'll be with Yan. So we'll be fishing against each other.
Ooh.
Mary Lisa and I have never fished against each other, but we've had a lot of success together. Mary Lisa was actually top female of the year for the NLWT in 2024, I believe it was. So
that's incredible.
A lot of time in there. So. And we love having the wives and girls around. In fact, at our tournament, we make sure that they're well taken care of in a sense when it comes to prizes as well. So
Well,
100%.
if you win, Aidan, I hope you have a very comfortable couch at that house that you're staying at.
Yeah, that might be the case.
I'm standing right now, half squat and standing. I could get another chair if you really want. No, I don't.
know. Doesn't matter to me.
So, Aidan, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into fishing? How you got to where you are, and then we'll go from there.
So I think I honestly have a very different story from most younger guys that are getting into it now. Like all my friends who I'm fishing tournaments against that are younger, they grew up with it with a rod in their hands, like Emma, from the day they could put a rod in their hands. But for me, it was very different. No one in my family ever fished growing up. I was probably 5 or 6 years old at a birthday party at a bowling alley, and a friend who never fished in his life, never fished after this day in his life, he bought me a fishing rod for my birthday. And I was like, interesting. And I remember going out for mud pout, because I live in Russell, I'm from Russell, Ontario. We have a tournament every year called the Pout Masters, which you go out and catch bullhead, mud pout from the shore of the Castro River. And I think it was then I kind of fell in love with it. And then my brothers bought fishing rods, and they're 5 and 7 years older than me. So during our summers, from when I was probably 5 to 9, 10 years old, we would spend every single day wading through the Castro River, which is a dirty brown water. It's a river, but it's realistically a creek. Like you can be up knee deep for the good stretch in Russell till Embrun, where it opens up a little bit more. And we would go out and we would catch smallmouth on topwater poppers, walleye, pike, and just had a blast doing it. But then when I was 10 years old, my brothers were old enough where they were doing their own things in the summer, and I was getting more into sports, competitive sports, which again, that comes into how I got into the competitive angling. But then sports, action sports, it kind of took over my life, and I completely stopped fishing. I didn't probably touch a rod from when I was 11 till I was 18. So I started working for a company called All Signs, and the owner of that company, Dave Western, I fish against him to this day. He was fishing competitively, and then his cousin, Howie McDonald, he was fishing competitively in Renegade back then, and his 2 sons, Chris and Jake. They fished smaller tournaments growing up, but Jake had a boat, and they just kind of expressed their love for it. And no, I didn't even go out with them before I went out with a buddy. We had 3 quarries probably 10 minutes from my house that were just loaded with largemouth. Like you could, I'm not even joking, you could go out there and catch 5 20-pound bags a day, like of just big largemouth. And it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And you get spoiled fishing like that. You get spoiled really quickly. But we lost permission access to those spots, and then I started fishing public waterways. I would get out with Dave and Jake here and there on their boat when they had a chance between tournaments and work. Those guys worked like crazy. But from there, I kind of fell in love with it. Then COVID hit, and I was working full time throughout it all. But on the weekends, I remember those summers were ridiculously hot, but I'd be out at 3 a.m. I'd drive down to the St. Lawrence. That's when I first started fishing out there. And I'd get there out on the water and catch 3-pound smallmouth and be ecstatic, because I haven't caught a smallmouth in a long time. And I'm getting back on what I grew up doing kind of thing. And I'm like, something about this is just clicking right now. Like I love this. There's nothing more than I want to be is out on the water catching fish. So that would have been 2020. 2021 came around. I got a new job and I was making a little bit better money. And I was like, okay, I want a boat or I want a kayak. And I said, screw the kayak. And I made the stupidest decision. Well, before that, I'll get into how me and Aidan met. So it would have been 2020. I was ice fishing with one of my good buddies, Donovan. And Donovan and Aidan had fished tournaments in the past, fun little here and there tournaments. And Aidan's mother is, she owns a doctor's clinic. And then Howie McDonald's wife, she works for her. And we met one day when I was fishing with Dave and Howie was with Aidan. I was kind of like, I know who that is. Because I had buddies who fished with him when we were way younger and I wasn't into fishing at that point. But we met ice fishing and kind of you fish tournaments. We love bass fishing. Okay, let's start talking. And then we started fishing the catch and release season, which came out the next year. And then kind of after that, it fell into place very, very quickly. Ian bought a boat. Long story short, that boat blew up very quickly.
As we heard, remember, Danny?
Oh yeah.
He's
Like the
explained that
first day,
story.
wasn't
I
it?
went and bought a boat. That boat also blew up very quickly after deciding I wanted to fish Renegade in a 1989 boat that had no service on it, no nothing. And I had no means fishing any tournaments like that, but I fell in love that week. I absolutely fell in love with the tournament scene and everything to do with it. And then blew my motor. So we sat on the shore again for another year of fishing. And then come the next year, Ian bought his boat that he has now, the amazing Skeeter that we've been running. But then he started fishing with his old partner again because he kind of owed it to him. Like we were fishing on my boat, but they'd fished for years together. But then Chris, unfortunately, he couldn't commit to the series. And thankfully, he let me fish with Ian, and Chris paid for our first season. He did that, and I can't thank Chris enough for that. But first tournament out together, we were fishing out of Morrisburg. It's a 2-day back-to-back tournament, single qualifiers for Renegade. The first day we didn't do great, and the second day we made our run to where we found fish and pre-fish, and I think we ended up in 5th place in a Renegade tournament, which was mind-blowing to someone that new to tournaments. And from then on, I fell in love with it.
Now, Danny, I have to ask you. We had Ian on here a number of months back.
Yeah.
Do you see how I get their names mixed up? Like they're carbon copies of one another. Their passion, like I can feel the passion from here. Emma, does Aidan never have a bad day?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as it keeps it real, because at the end of the day, as I said, I love these two. Their passion is incredible. Their respect for anglers and the industry is remarkable. And you're younger anglers, as you mentioned before we went live. You're 26, so you're not brand new. You've got some time behind you. It's quite a story of how you got to where you are right now. And now I have to ask, where do you see yourself in the future? What is your goal for I'd say near future and long future? Where do you see yourself?
For me, Ian's got that burning passion. I mean, he's starting it this year. Actually, I don't know if he's announced this yet, so I don't know if I can speak much on that. But I don't have a boat right now. I don't have a truck, but that's something within the next year. I want something to be on the water where I can go fish for myself, whether that's a kayak, a tin can boat, or my dream bass boat. Eventually, it's going to be a bass boat, and I want to be able to fish tournaments, go pre-fish, have a second boat for pre-fish, because obviously, like most of these teams we're fishing as, they got 2 boats. There's 2 guys covering double amount of water compared to me and Ian, where we go out, we'll pre-fish together, but we're just sharing a boat at that point. We're bouncing ideas off each other, but we're not covering as much water as we'd like to, or each fishing our own way, because we fish very, very, very similar, and we always have since we started fishing together, but we've kind of dialed that in together just because we fish so similarly already. But long term, I'd love to go down to the States at some point, like do opens, do the Northerns, but that's a ways away from me, I think. But short term is to keep fishing bait. We will keep fishing these tournaments we're getting in Canada, like we have with CISA the last year. Like that was incredible last year. That was one of the most mind-blowing tournaments I've ever fished. Like I'll say it and I'll say it again, we've never seen anything like that in Canada.
And hopefully we're going to repeat that again this year. I know Moose and the team are working very, very hard to put that together, and hopefully all the blocks fit into place so that it is as successful as a tournament as it was last year. Because I'll tell you, last year, as you said, it was phenomenal. Danny, you might have something to say too, because there is this, I don't know what it is with Canadian tournament anglers, competitive anglers, it better probably put, but there is this draw. of you wanting to go down to the States? You know, we've seen it with the Johnson brothers, we've seen it with Cooper Gallant, we've seen it with Gussie and a few others. There is this draw to go to the States. What is the biggest reason that Canadian anglers want to compete on that stage?
Sorry.
For my opinion, aside from the payouts being the first one, but you know, high payouts mean high registration. They go hand in hand. But when you get into that southern market, you know, your exposure is tenfold. The anglers you're competing against. You know, we can walk into our tournaments and have a 50 boat field and have 30 of them be legitimate pros that we're chasing, whereas we go into a tournament in the U.S. like if I go to the National Walleye Tour, which I've never fished, but in the Masters, you can have a 50 boat field and 50 boat of them are all professionals. So it kind of drives your learning curve, I find, because that's who you have to beat. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to understand what they're doing. So that's kind of where my incentive is. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And unfortunately, I've not done that yet, but I'm going to keep trying. But I do want to circle back to one thing though, because up until about 2 months ago, I had no idea where Russell was, and now my daughter lives in Russell. So it's
No way.
Yeah, Kaylee moved there last month, so it's kind of funny. As soon as you said Russell, I texted her. She's like, "Oh boy, we're neighbors." So that's us. She knows how small it is, and we're from a small town.
World, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny when you said that, but yeah. Also, I find too, like in the southern markets in the U.S., I'm like Aidan. I love forward-facing sonar. I'm loaded with it. I'm learning. The more I get to learn, the better, and it just changes how you fish.
100%.
And everybody, it's amazing where I see anglers, what they recognize and how little of my night thing. And it's now I'm forcing myself to fish differently. Like I went out the other day where I could have probably caught 50, 60, 12, 14-inch walleyes. That's not what I was looking for. And spent 3 hours and got 7 really nice ones, including that 30-incher. You know, and that was a success on my books because I wanted to fish different baits and I wanted to learn how to do it. And I couldn't do it in a matter of hours, whereas it used to take weeks to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%. So, Aidan, I gotta ask. Obviously, you want to get down to the States. It is a bigger stage. You know, payouts are bigger, and as Danny said, you're competing against the best. Not to say that the best doesn't exist up here in Canada, because we've seen the carnage that the Johnsons have left. We've seen how well Cooper's done, and of course Gussie won the Classic. So us anglers, we got the best of the best up here too. But what is the biggest draw for you to compete on the American stage?
Absolutely financially. Like it's not cheap to fish tournaments anymore between gas prices nowadays, the cost of boats, the cost of trucks, travel, everything else. Like it all adds up very quickly, and you have to kind of pick one or the other, whether you're fishing or you're doing a lot of other things. You have to be fully committed, and even then it's not easy to do it all. Like it's even fishing as a co-angler, like you have the gas money, you have the travel, you don't have the maintenance on the truck or the boat or anything, but it all adds up to the point where dropping the amount of money you need to have on a boat to fish at that level is very hard to justify, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%. And when it comes to forward-facing sonar, would you be that selective that if there was a tournament that did not allow forward-facing sonar, would you choose not to participate in that tournament?
I'd love to go do something like that, because when we did the 5th place in Morrisburg with Renegade, we didn't have live scope on the boat. We never even looked at live scope. Never in our lives. We went out and did that drifting out deep in the current. And we will go and do that during every tournament we can get in the current and go do drifts. We're not shallow guys by any means, but if we can get out deep and we don't have to live scope, and we figured out some stuff in the last year where you really don't need the live scope to go out and catch the fish that we're catching. But I think that'd be a lot of fun to go do. Small mouth, no live scope tournament. The largemouth stuff, we never use the live scope for that. Like we're flipping, we're chatterbaiting, we're frogging. The few times a year we do get the largemouth fish, just because that's not going to win a tournament up here for the most part. And we don't get to fish the inland lakes like we used to with Renegade, with bait fields all on the river.
And it's different, Danny, obviously with walleye, because they're a deeper fish. Live plays a more integral key when it comes to locating and being selective of the fish that you're targeting. But would you yourself? I mean, I know you love your live target. Would you participate in tournaments that said no to forward-facing sonar?
No, I probably wouldn't. But at the end of the day, too, with walleye, one of the biggest things that you see it on Lake Erie now, whereas nobody's trolling anymore because we've changed that with forward-facing. Whereas if you got rid of it, you would just go back to trolling because you're covering water in the same effect. Instead of having now with forward-facing, instead of having 6 lines pulling a spread, you're 1 rod in hand chasing down the fish you want. But that's kind of, it's not necessarily that it's not an advantage anymore. Just about everybody. I've been out here the last 2 weeks on the channel here, and I'm seeing 14-foot tinners with their live scopes on there because they all got their portable packs. So just about everybody's got it now, in a sense. But it's that learning curve. We've got a big advantage over a lot of people because we've been using it since it first came out, or we've gotten multiple ones, or we're using it for different reasons, right? But I find that's tournament fishing is the driver to people that are in that. That's where we call it an obsession, but realistically it's an addiction, right? We're trying to get that edge. We're trying to get that advantage of everybody. So we spend a lot of time on the water, pre-fishing 4 or 5 days. And what's kind of interesting now is we're starting to pay a lot more attention now to more fish behavior as opposed to catching fish. So it's interesting. We had conversations today, me and Mike, about just watching fish when a boat goes by and how they react, or listening how the waves hit the boat and how the fish are reacting. And you change your boat angle, and all of a sudden they react differently. So stuff we never really would have paid attention to, whereas it used to be, oh, that's the spot, that's the color jig I had to use. Meanwhile, the fish are just reacting to sound or differently and the conditions. So we can manipulate those conditions. Let's come in from this angle, change our boat angle so that we're not making as much noise. And it's just technology advances. The downside about it is cost.
Yeah.
And realistically, we all want to drive a Ferrari, but we can all only afford to do that. That's what it boils down to, right? So
absolutely. With that being said, Aidan, of course, it's unique, and watching you and I on compete last year in CISA, the beautiful thing, and you're going to tell me whether I'm off base or not, but you seem to fit in. And I know, there's sort of an older elite group, and some would suggest that there's an old boys club. But with you guys being a young group and a young tandem, and you've had your successes, whether it be on club, a club tournament or bigger, you've had your successes. But do you feel, and how is it being a younger angler competing against some of these great sticks?
It's honestly an honor, but at the same time, well, it's always an honor. But we had people that at least when I came out into the tournament scene, Ian's been doing it for much longer than I have. We had some of the older boys that were there to talk to that we already knew before fishing was even a thing at these tournaments. And then you talk to people that they talk to, and then you meet people from there, and you feel very, very welcomed into it. Because a lot of the guys, they love seeing the young guys coming into it, because we're far and few between now. Like on the Bait Fuel Tour, there's probably a handful, maybe 7 guys that are under 30 years old fishing it. And then same time you come close to them because you're a younger guy. A lot of those are father-son teams, which you love to see as well. But no, I don't feel like you're pushed out of the tournament scene by any ways. You're welcomed in more than anything. And obviously there's it's hard to get to know 50, 60 different other teams or 120 other people at that point, but you can get to know a lot of people and make some really good connections just from talking before blast off, talking after weigh-in, pre-party or preseason parties, the events Bait Fuel puts on throughout the year, and everything else with the tournament scene. Going out to the restaurants, going out to the bars after a tournament, just getting to see everyone. Even if you didn't go with them, you're more than likely going to see other people, and it's people you know of, and you get to know them that way.
Now, here's what I really want you to chime in on, because I'm really going to be interested to see the engagement between you and Danny. Where do you see tournament fishing going in the future? And is there something that you would suggest or like to see from a tournament perspective going forward?
It's tough because just with the fishing right now, I know a lot of people kind of are getting you're not seeing as many numbers as you used to. There's no arguing that, as you did see in pre-COVID. But I think there is also a lot of young teams that are getting into it and doing it, even if it's the bare minimum. Like, you're going out, you're not pre-fishing, you're not taking time off work, losing money out that way, but just getting out there to fish. I think you are seeing quite a bit of that. And the people who want to commit, they will commit. But I think it's going to get better in a couple of years, but right now you're kind of seeing a lull of it. And I think with bait fuel, we lost a lot of teams and we gained quite a few teams. So it's not like you're just losing people and no one's joining right now. I think you're getting very up and down every year between new people joining, people leaving, taking a season off, taking a small break, whatever else it is.
So par for the course, basically, when it comes to tournament angling, there's not really a lot that you think should be added or changed. Emma, I got to ask you the question because, of course, we see it in some of the walleye trails up in the north. There is a slow influx of lady anglers that are being involved in the tournament trails. Not as many as we'd like to see, because, of course, we'd like a more balanced field. But from a lady's perspective, what would you like to see to engage you in tournament angling?
It's like a tough question there because I do have my summers off because I am a teacher. So like it would be perfect timing, you know, but like I don't even know how to answer that one, to be honest. Like that's nothing, like since my dad did it so often, it wasn't something that like I love seeing it and everything, but I think I've experienced it so much like secondhand that I've never thought about myself actually going into tournament fishing, to be honest.
And it's not because you don't feel like you fit in or welcomed to that. It's just something that you never thought of. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, like I never thought of it, and you don't see many women tournament fishers out there, to be honest. So like there wasn't really anyone to like look up to, you know?
Good point.
Like yes, my dad, like I look up to him and everything, and like other like Baba Zumi was always like a big one for me, and like Big Jim obviously, and like I still remember like this fishing, his derby on with the kids on Saturday, like I used to go to as a kid, you know? So for me to now go like as an adult to help other kids, like it's amazing. So that's like more things that I think I'm into. But yeah, like if there was more like maybe when I was younger growing up and everything, there was like more women angler like in tournament fishing, maybe it would have been something that like sparked my interest now. But I feel I know I'm only 23, but I feel like there would still have to be a couple others that would join me too before I would think about tournament fishing. Unless I guess it was with Aidan there, but like I guess like it doesn't have to be a ladies team.
Yeah.
It would be him and I. But
now have either one of you participated in online tournaments? Have you done any online derbies or fishing
I've
tournaments?
never done any. No, I've been looking at them for the past couple of years, but haven't jumped into any.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you could try.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be talking about that after we bid you guys farewell. But before we do that, Danny, you know, now you've seen their take. Where do you see tournament angling, and what would you like to see going forward? Because as we've talked about many times, even before we just went live here, you know, numbers are down. You know, it's a struggle right now. Whether it's there's too many tournaments, it's too watered down. I mean, there's a whole bunch of arguments.
Yeah.
What do you see as something that needs to be done going forward to keep and maintain the base of anglers for tournaments?
Well, I know, like for this year, we can clearly see the writings on the wall. It's just the cost of doing events is very expensive. And, you know, I have my discussions. You know, the events that I planned on doing when January hit, all of a sudden they drastically changed by mid-February, by end of February. You know, like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I pretty much eliminated tournaments, and I'm kind of sitting on one right now, depending on how I do on the other ones, right? So you got that factor. As for tournaments going forward, we see other events like our own as well. We're making changes. We're just kind of saying like, well, let's do something different at the end of the day. So we kind of started off that way, but now we're jumping into something different for next year, and which we're going to announce next week. But I see other events doing the same thing. Biggest thing too is I see that learning curve for electronics. You know, where we were 5 years ago to where we are now, a lot of people have that. So then once they get that comfort level, you start seeing it. And like, we can look at the list. If I look at the LWT, for example, I can look at a tournament from last year and then 5 years ago, and half that field is different. So there's a reason, and a lot of those are people coming in. So we're having people coming in, we're having people leaving for whatever the reasons are. The age gap could be a big thing. As for younger people, like I was well into my 30s before I got into tournament angling. I'm a diehard fisherman, but it wasn't until I got into tournament fishing about 10 years ago. So it was a late bloom for me, but that has a lot to do with too. Like I had a boat, I had vehicles, the financial means were there. So when you're younger, it's a lot harder to do that. You could easily don't need, $100,000 boat to be competitive. You can get away with a $50,000 boat. It relies more on your abilities, and that's going back on that little topic too. That I noticed a lot of us, especially with the fuel prices, we're changing how we pre-fish. So the discussion we had tonight is like, you know what? We're paying attention to the weather. We're paying attention. So let's actually break down the water that we think we might actually be fishing in. There's no point in checking water off when we're going to burn $100 of fuel and the weather is probably not going to let us go there anyways. So why even bother knowing that? 100%. So let's just fine tune what we have. So I think you're starting to see a lot more of that. That's a conversation a lot of us are having. Going to tournaments or bodies of water that we already kind of know, like we're eliminating a pre-fishing day just to be able to run around and have more money to spend because it's not cheap. So I do see it's going to increase. I think 2 years from now, we're going to be like, oh boy, now we weathered through that. Everything's good, because the desire to fish tournaments doesn't lead people.
No, 100%. And Aidan, is that going to have an effect on your pre-fishing or how you approach tournaments, the cost of living, as we will say?
I think 100%. Like we're still going to pre-fish the days we were pre-fishing, like for our bigger tournaments, but I don't think we're going to make as many of those 60-mile runs down the river this year and burn a whole tank of gas. But even like less running around the boat you can do and pick apart like 2 football field sizes of an area rather than have a spot here, spot 10 miles down the river, spot 5 miles across the river, and here, there, and in between. Like if you can just go and pick apart one spot, drive the truck there, you're saving gas that way. But I think a lot of those big runs we're going to try and eliminate and just pick apart the areas closer to the launch where it's still stuff that we can fish fish the way we want to fish.
Makes sense.
And you're starting
last year during our classic for bait fuel, we fished out again and we made a stupid run into the lake after Jan had an amazing pre-fish 2 minutes from the launch. We ran all the way out there in 4-footers, got out to our spots around Amherst, and we were in 6-footers. We put 8 pounds in the boat, and we ran all the way back and then put nearly 20 in the boat. And it was just like, why did we do that? What were we chasing? We were fishing waters we couldn't fish the way we wanted to fish it and beating ourselves in the boat up.
Yeah, there's nightmare. The bite's always better over there. That's the problem.
Exactly.
But one thing touching base on the cost of, I'm starting to notice this year for the first time, like in the National Walleye Tour, where they're having boundaries on events, so they're not able to do these 70 mile runs. So I think that's more or less just to try and keep it competitive for everybody because, I know Jason. I can only imagine what his fuel bill is when he does an NWT event or NWT event. He was just in South Dakota his last run. I think he's leaving for Beta Knock next week, so it's costly. I know it's kind of a bad year and you plan it, but you don't know. You decide last year that you're going to be doing this and you're committed, and all of a sudden the world decides to burn your wallet apart. So you can do about it. So
true. Now, Aidan, I got to ask, when it comes to sponsorship, Danny seems to have them fall out of his back pocket on a regular basis. But for you, a younger angler, maybe not as established, tell us, what's your secret? Because it seems like you and I have been very well supported.
So we had Peter Gard, who is the owner of Goldwing Auto Care. Jan owns his old boat. He bought that when he bought the boat. It was Peter's old boat, and we talked just from having the same wrap boat because Peter still got a very similar wrap to the black and red. We started talking with him and Skip, his partner, for 2 years, and then one day he approached us and he said, "Hey guys, I want to sponsor you next year." And me and Jan kind of looked at each other because we've got the X-Zone Pro staff, some smaller stuff here and there, and we kind of just looked at each other and we're like, wow, like that's a next level sponsorship. Like for someone to come and approach us, we're not searching after that. And Peter's been Golden Auto Care. They've been a huge supporter of us the past 2 years. He's done so much for us, and I know he's helped out Ryan a ton with chasing after the sponsors, and he's helped us out an incredible amount. It's not easy to go out and do it all on your own. Like, you have to know a lot of people who have these businesses who see fishing as a benefit to them. That's a huge one, obviously. Like, if you don't have people who want to see the fishing, like, what's the point of going after them? Because if you can't take them out to go fishing, they're like, there's no benefit to both of you unless it's just a financial thing at that point.
Yeah, true enough. That's awesome.
But that's a hard one to do because the sponsors can make or break a season.
Absolutely.
Like if you have some funding coming in, that can make the world of a difference between entry fees, hotels, gas, you name it.
100%. Not to rush you along, but it is the Power Hour, so I want to say if you have any last words, any last thank yous, or anything that you wanted to mention before we have to sadly let you go.
No, that's about it. I'll again thank you, Peter, for all the support the past couple of years, and Big Jim. He's running an event this Saturday at Sealy's Bay, Kids Cops and Canadian Tire. I'm going to be there. Emma's going to be there. There's going to be a whole lot of people out there. I hope we see some of you guys there.
Oh,
Scottie's going to be there, obviously. So it'll be good to catch up in person, and it'll be a good kids event to start off the season, kind of.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, you two, for joining us tonight. And Emma, again, we always take a moment to thank the wives, because without your support, none of this happens. So kudos to you, tip of the hat to you for being supportive and allowing us to pursue our dreams. We really appreciate that.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me, so.
Right on. All right, we'll see you this weekend, you two.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Scottie.
Thank you. All the best. So, as I said, Danny, an honor to have Aidan with us. Ian is no different. As I said, they are two peas in a pod. And when you see them competing and loving the sport like it should be loved, it's awesome. And I hope we get to see them a little bit more often on the Power, because they bring such great charisma and passion and positivity. I love it.
Absolutely. And we see that too with these younger kids that more and more that we're getting on. There is quite a few of them that are passionate about the tournament series. And I like listening to them and talking to them and seeing what they're, because they're going to drive me to be better and stuff like that. And, it's kind of like there's a lot of young kids out there now that I'm having trouble keeping up with, and just how fast they're learning. It's unbelievable.
Well, this is why I do this, because I can't keep up with any of it. So I totally feel your pain. With that being said, we got a few minutes here. Let us go back over. Of course, we had Q2 this past weekend, which was anywhere in Ontario.
Yes.
And Q3 is happening again this weekend, June 5th to the 7th. It starts on the Friday, correct, Dan? Is it midnight, or is there a specific time?
Friday at noon is the deadline. If you have not registered Friday by noon, unfortunately, you can't register during the event. We had a couple last week try that, so we do apologize for that. But yeah, with a weekend series, it's almost impossible to control that. So yeah, so it's Friday noon until 5 p.m. on Sunday. Those are your fishing hours. You can fish 24 hours a day until that point if you want. And best of luck. And we've seen some pretty impressive fish come in last week, and there's no doubt about that.
Well, I think it needs to be explained. Obviously this was after week one, and
Correct.
Some folks may not understand it. I know I needed to have it explained to me, but based on your length, Fish Donkey it has an equation already submitted so that with a stringer of 3 walleye, it will calculate the weight. And with Ryan having a calculated weight of 26.8 pounds, that's impressive to say the absolute least.
Oh, I think he had a 30 in that mix too, if I'm not mistaken.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And that was Q1. Of course, we just watched Q2, and some even more impressive fish came out, and I'm telling you, big CFN shout out to Patrick. These were gems. I don't know where he was fishing. I'm sure you do.
I do not know.
Is like, dude, I want to go there like right now. These
All I
all
know-
seem like 30-inch fish.
Yes, and he had multiple, so it's your top three. So he had actually culled some fish, and that was all done. And we don't walleye bites fishing like once you're on them. Sometimes it happens fast, and he was able to do it quickly. He's registered. His address is from Burlington. That's all I know. So I have no idea where he was fishing. I don't know. It could be Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and that's the beauty about it, right? It's all Ontario. It's everybody has their honey holes, and away they go.
And the cool thing about this, folks, if you don't know too much about what the NCAA Weekend Series is about, is in order for a catch to qualify and be verified, it has to be released. So it's not about just measuring fish. You have to release them as well. And yeah. Absolutely. Patrick was extremely tough to beat because as we saw with the final tally, he remained on top for the remainder of the tournament. Ryan was right behind him. Madex was there, and
Patrick's answering our question for us. So he was on Lake Ontario. So I had
Lake Ontario. There you go.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, with who qualified in week 1, who qualifies in week 2? Is it all of the top 5 leaders, or because you've already qualified, new entries get to qualify?
It's 5 new entries. So the top 5 newest entries. So in this particular case, these are the top 7 we had in that event, but 2 had already qualified. So we removed those 2 people from the qualifying lists, and we add everybody else to it. So Lenny and Ryan were removed. So this is the next round of qualifiers. So we're currently up to 10. Half the field is complete now for the championship, and we're going to be getting our next 5 this weekend.
Wow. Well, Patrick, as I said, dude, well done. Those were incredible fish.
Excellent.
And if, as Danny has mentioned, you are registered for this weekend as well. So I can't wait to see your fish, pal. I wish you luck, and hopefully the weather holds off for you. Of course, Q3, this 3rd week, is sponsored by the great folks over at the Sioux Trading Post. Tell us how important they are to the NCAA as well as the weekend series.
The NCAA, they're extremely important. The Trading Post is actually our big fish sponsor for the NCAA actual event. So without them, we wouldn't be paying the anglers for these amazing catches. So the 6 biggest walleye really over the weekend, top 3 each day, are getting paid thanks to Mike and his crew over at the Trading Post. And they were immediately jumped on board for what we're doing with the NCAA or weekend series. They're a great supporter for all of the events, whether it's online or in person, not just with us. So we like having them around and stuff like that. And it's also a good person to shoot the shit with and go fishing with. So we're very lucky there.
And then, of course, as we mentioned, the championship is after everybody has qualified. The great folks over at Garnett's have stepped up in a huge way for the overall prize. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the entries because so far these qualified rounds, it might be sort of a smaller field, but extremely productive in terms of size of fish and quality of fish. But yeah, the Garnett's big tip of the hat because, of course, you not only are sponsored the NCAA, but also the weekend series and have stepped up for the big prize. Tell us a little bit about that.
Exactly, and Tyler and Georgie stepped up big time with Garnett's Rentals with the 2200 watt Honda generator. So that's going to be given out to anybody in Ontario wherever you are. We're going to make sure you get that in your hands. Brand new, beautiful generator. But not only that, this is also a paid entry event. So we're still going to have our cash payouts with the 20 individuals. We're going to pay out top 5. I believe it was top 5. And we are still working for additional sponsor prize on that, so which we may be adding to this as we go along. So the championship's gearing up to be a very good payout, and we're going to have quite the crew fishing this. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know personally, Ryan, he wants to win that generator, and he's been fishing every event, and he's actually been collecting a lot of the money. He's got a 1st place and a 2nd place already, so he's doing well. So
that's awesome. Good job. Well, that is the NCAA Weekend Series. Head over to fishdonkey.com to register if you're interested. If you live in the province of Ontario, you can go out and catch a walleye. We'd love for you to catch 3, and that stringer of 3 might get yourself qualified for the championship if you don't end up winning the qualifier event. So keep that in mind. And as I said, any last words, Dan, before I get on to the Compre Conquer All Challenge?
No, buddy. Thank you very much for pushing this for us and helping us out. Of course, and
Oh
we're
no,
glad to be a part of this. And now we gotta push the Compre series and get all the perch. Really, I'm calling it the perch series. There's so many perch cat species.
well, you know, and first and foremost, for anybody who's listening, I got it wrong, and I'm so glad we had Mike on last night as we handed out our first weekly random winners of a Shimano swag pack, as I will call it. It'll probably have something with Shimano, and of course, it's got some POW'er Pro. But congratulations to runner-up Preston Hendrick, and of course, Alamar Knowles, who was the winner. And if Alamar doesn't end up winning something even better with one of the random prizes, he, of course, will be able to fall back on this. But of course, if he does, he might forfeit that. And of course, that's where Preston cashes in. But the Compre Conquer All Challenge is going on right now, right to July 1st. Head on over to www.anglersatlas.com. You will see the MyCatch app, and you will be able to register. You will go down, see the icon, and it's simple. It's so simple. All you basically got to do is put in your name and email, and away you go. And as I said, look, last night, Mike, he explained it. I'm so glad he did, because I had it wrong. I thought you could only catch one species per day for one ballot. In fact, you can catch total of 12 ballots, and it doesn't matter what the mix is. So you can get 6 bluegills, 6 perch, 6 rock bass, 6 pumpkin seed. It doesn't matter. You can submit up to 12 ballots, and it doesn't matter what the species are. On the app, you will also see what species are available to you, but of course, it is all panfish, rock bass, perch, the pumpkin seeds. You've got moon eye, golden eye. There's a bunch there that are interesting, and maybe some folks haven't caught, and maybe only exclusive to certain provinces. But there's also a saltwater species list. So again, I encourage you, if you are interested, because there's some great prizes still to be given out at the end of it. Of course, there'll be 5 of these Compre walleye rods, 5 random winners. So the more ballots you cast, the better chances you have to win. Just makes sense. It's like buying more lottery tickets, improves your chances of winning. So we'll be giving 5 of those at the end of this. And of course, we have the video draw. So if you have a Compre rod already and you end up catching a fish and submit a ballot, and you're using a Compre rod, you also get entered into the video draw. And the video draw is not only a Compre rod, but also a Mirabel reel. So a very cool addition to some of the prizes. Then, of course, for those who have fished the CFN fish off, you're familiar with this. I don't need to explain how the hero shot works, but if you use anything that's Shimano related to catch a fish, submit a fish, if it says Shimano on it, it qualifies you for the hero shot, which of course is a Compre rod and a Vanford reel. And of course, this is what a hero shot looks like. But thanks so much, Mark, for submitting this. But yeah, as I said, he's got his symmetry combo there, plus the Shimano hat, plus the Shimano on the CFN jersey. So he is laden with Shimano and is probably one of our biggest supporters of all of our events. So big shout out to you, Mark. And of course, we encourage everybody, as it is a free tournament. There's no fee to enter. All you basically have to do is submit a form, give us your email, so that when we find out that you do win, we have somewhere to contact you so that we can find your address and make sure that you get the prize that you deserve. With that being said, as I said, it goes on till July 1st. Looking forward to seeing a whole bunch of entries. Currently, right now, we're at 117 anglers. We're over 300 fish submitted. So our judges are busy. Our anglers are busy, and so is CFN busy. And with that, I will leave Dan with the last word for tonight.
I'm so excited. Someone's going to win a prize at a rock bass.
Right?
That's childhood fish right there. It's fantastic.
And that's the thing. Like I was hoping to see more kids, and there are some kids involved, but I was really hoping to see some parents, grandparents, what have you, getting some kids involved in this. Because Dan, you know, we were on the docks at 9, 10 years old, catching all of these fish that we just mentioned. Yeah. And to think back then we would have had a chance to win a prize in an event that I didn't have to pay for to join. No brainer, like done.
I always thought I won a prize when I didn't get yelled at for making a mess. So it was fantastic. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, Dan, as I guess as we might as well wrap it up, it is the POW'er Hour, and we are fast approaching that hour. Thanks so much again for all the work you're doing behind the scenes.
Thank you.
It is certainly moving the NCAA in the right direction. And of course, we're really excited to hear the announcement next week with our good buddy Mike Hudson. Thanks so much, excuse me, for Emma and Aidan Smit for joining us tonight. I love the perspective from a youth view when it comes to tournament angling, because of course you never know, right? They put on a brave face and they're always happy-go-lucky. But at the end of the day, it's nice to know, is there a struggle? Is there an acceptance issue? Obviously, there's not. The angling community is a warm bunch these days, and we thank you for being like that, because, of course, to exclude someone like Aidan or Ian, I tell you, it would be a travesty. So I'm glad that the angling community step up and welcome them with open arms. All right. Well, as I'm losing my voice, it is the third day in a row that we've been doing a live. I'm done. I bid you farewell, my good buddy Danny Bacon, and as well everybody else that's been watching. We really appreciate you participating, leaving great comments, and the kind of positivity that we look for. Thanks so much to Shimano. Thanks so much for the Trading Post Garnets and all sponsors of the NCAA, and of course, POW'er Castings for being the sponsor of every time we do the POW'er Hour.
Thanks, everybody. Night, Scottie.
Peace.